Great. What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. This is Zap, your EC program manager. If you don't know who I am, just a refresher, I run our Renew Nashville program. It is a pandemic response program for small businesses that is completely free of charge. And we are hosting these workshops, connecting folks with advisors, office hours, and just resources to help small businesses during this time. But I'm so excited because Dell has been a huge supporter of the Entrepreneur Center and of entrepreneurs in Nashville. And Henry is here today to talk about building your team. So definitely something that is on everyone's mind, whether now or in the future, as you know, the dream of being an entrepreneur, getting to build their own team one day, right? But Henry has experience as an entrepreneur, small business leader, just a leader in the corporate industry. He was a partner at an experiential marketing company and VP of sales for a market research startup, as well as a writer for Native Magazine. In his role as general manager, he oversaw operations for Exodus and Marathon Music Works. And he's been a leader in sales and marketing at Dell for over 16 years. So super stoked to have you here representing Dell, Henry, and I will kick things over to you. But just some tech run through. Feel free to type anything into the chat. I'll kind of monitor the Q&A. And at the end, we'll open up for questions. And there we'll allow people to unmute themselves if they would like to ask something just a little bit more directly and add context.
All right. Is it my turn now? Do I get to start talking now?
Yes, it's your turn.
Hey,
take it over.
Thank you so much for that introduction. You make all my work experience sound really incredible. I need you to introduce me on every phone call that I have. Maybe I'll be more credible. Who knows? And you know what? Listen, another thing on this tech piece, I'm sure that all of you guys have cameras. I would love to see your faces because otherwise you're going to be stuck just looking at mine, and I don't want to do that to you. So thank you to those of you who are brave enough to turn your cameras on. Also, is it going to be possible that we can have people talk during the presentation? Because I want to try some crowd participation. You never know exactly how this may go. Oh, yay, look, I see people already. Hey, Taylor, how are you? Hey, Bill. Oh, all right. Okay. I've got a deck that I've prepared. I'm going to present this to you guys, but I'm going to also be talking through it as we go and asking questions and so on and so on. So I hope this will be an engaging piece, but it's going to require some audience participation. Okay, so with that, how are we doing? Can we see everything we need to see right now?
Looks good.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me. My name is Henry Pyle. I currently work at Dell. I've done a lot of different kinds of work here in Nashville, as was mentioned. I want to clarify the VP of sales role. I mean, that sounds incredible. I was also the only salesperson there. So those of you who are, startups or small businesses, you can give yourselves any title you want. That happened to be the title that I got. I'm not that fancy though. We're going to keep this very casual if we can. So casual that I'm actually just wearing Birkenstocks right now. As Amy told me earlier today, business up top, party everywhere else. That's the Zoom wardrobe, right? Okay. We're going to talk about building your team. And there are three critical parts of building your team. You've got to recruit well, you've got to interview well, and you've got to coach well. So those are going to be the three building blocks we're going to go through. I don't know that I'm going to say anything here that is going to be revolutionary to most of you, but hopefully there'll be a few pieces that you take away from this that will be meaningful. Feel free to stop me as we go, and I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Specifically, our first question, our polling question, where we're going to get you guys involved. So I'm going to launch a poll here. I want to know, how many open spots do you have on your team or the business where you work? How much hiring do you need to do? In other words, this will help me understand how important is this. Is it one person important, no people important, or 10 people important? All right, results are rolling in. This is exciting. There's all sorts of great things happening. Okay, we're going to stop it here. It looks like most people have a need of about 2 to 5 folks, but there's a number of you that need 10 or more. It's incredible. That's a huge gap to have to fill, especially right now. It's pretty challenging. Okay, next poll question. Here we go. When was the last time you actively recruited someone? Proactively went out and said, I want you to come work for me. I'm hiring. Here's why you should be here. All right, seeing a lot of results coming in. Oh man, this is great. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and end it now. Okay, maybe in 2020. So it's been for many people more than 4 months. For some of you, you were doing this last week, just a couple days ago. Some of you did this yesterday, and then a couple of you have never done it. Great, fantastic, good mix. I love seeing that. Thank you so much for participating in this. I want to talk a little bit about this recruiting piece first, because whether you run your business or you work in a large corporation, the hiring part can be a little bit challenging. It's all about money, right? You got to have the money to pay people. So sometimes hiring gets frozen. That's a term that we use. Hiring is frozen. We just can't hire anybody right now. Recruiting is never frozen. Recruiting is free. You can do this, with people that you know. You can go out and encourage people to come out and work for you. So recruiting is never frozen, even when hiring is frozen. So let's talk a little bit about how important recruiting is before we get into it. This is where I'm going to throw some data out there. A really important quote: recruiting's never frozen. I did just say that, so you can, there it is. It's written down now. It's important. I got some data points here from a very reputable source somewhere online. But some of these statistics were really surprising to me. We think about 2020 a lot as a year where a lot of people were losing their jobs. And I know a lot of people that I was close to weren't working. They're in the service and entertainment industry. They're musicians. There are a lot of small businesses that probably were challenged to get funding. A lot of entrepreneurs were stalled out. So there were a number of people who were seeing their jobs either end, or they were dealing with a furlough. But in large part, corporations, large companies, and global businesses had a gap, a 69% talent shortage last year. It's kind of surprising. I don't know how many of you guys, I know there are a number of you guys that I work with, but I don't know how many of you work at large companies, but you may have also noticed that there was a hiring freeze, or there was at least a talent gap. Now, the next point and the last point are interesting. 73% of millennials found their last job on social media, and also 73% of candidates are passive job seekers. So people aren't actively looking for a job. They just stumble upon it. They're on the endless scroll. We all know the endless scroll, right? Where hours of your life just disappear on the sofa, scrolling through Reddit or Instagram or whatever you're doing. If you're not advertising there and recruiting in those sources and those outlets, then you're probably missing potential opportunities, and somebody's going to passively find it. Obviously, referrals are a key part of where you're going to find candidates for your jobs. So the people that you work with around your social circles, those are going to be the places where you're going to find your best candidates. And it's important because the data suggests that those referred candidates create higher margins. They're more profitable than the regular people that come through. Now, the last point here, second to last point, these open job opportunities are a bloodbath. With 250 average amount of resumes that come in for an open job opportunity, the challenge isn't, can I find somebody? It's, can I find the right person? Again, referrals are great, but you're going to have to sift through a lot of resumes to find the right people. Okay, I don't know if that was mind-blowing. It probably wasn't. You probably sort of knew all of that anyway, but the point is, there's a lot of data out there that suggests how important recruiting is. So let's talk about recruiting in general. And the most important place to recruit are your areas of influence. So I'm curious right now, Justin, yes, you, what are your areas of influence?
I don't know what that means.
Where are you going to go recruit people?
Like physical locations, or like, I still don't understand what that means.
Well, all right, let me give you one. Your son is in the Boy Scouts, and you take him to Boy Scouts for the Boy Scout meetings, and you hang out with the other moms and dads who are with their sons at the Boy Scouts, and you've gotten a little social circle. That's your area of influence. Now, I don't know if you have a son in Boy Scouts, but what I want to know, like, what are some of the areas where you have relationships with people and you could recruit?
I play hockey, and there's a lot of other professionals that play hockey with me.
And perfect. There you go. Scott, Mr. McCade, good to see your face. What about you? What are your areas of influence? Oh, I can't hear you. I'm trying to read your beard though. Oh, bummer. Okay. Type it in the chat. All right. Jenny, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. What about you? What are your areas of influence?
Uh, well, I mean, I would say social media. So a great network. I connected with a lot of peers that I have worked with over the years that are no longer at Dell or that are, in the industry.
Perfect. Yeah, and Justin added in Nashville Jobs subreddit, and Scott was talking about Instagram as well. Kevin, hey, how are you? Thanks for coming on camera. What about you? What are your areas of influence?
Well, I'll tell you, the team that I've assembled around our company. It's a fitness, it's a rock climbing product, and actually they found me on Instagram. They're not employees, but it's a marketing agency, and it turned out to be a really good marketing agency.
There you
And
go.
the other places I found people is Upwork. I'll start out with Upwork. I'll start out with a contractor. Go through frequently until I find somebody that really works, and then I'll bring them on as a 1099 or a W-2 then.
Perfect. Fantastic. We'll do one more. Candace, how about you? What are your areas of influence? Oh, you're on mute, Candace.
Sorry about that. I'm developing a training, and I also have a history in the music business, and I've put music and coaching and presenting together. And my areas of influence have led me to solicit, big picture, to a researcher who's been helping me with content, to a recording studio owner who is a potential for different technological, formats that I'm targeting, and an early client who is giving me feedback on my content as I develop it, who is an accountant. So
There you go.
all of them know that, like, let's see how this goes. I've been articulate about I love you, I'd love to have you, but I'm not, that's all I can do at this moment. But it's lovely that they're in. They're
Yeah.
open. They're open.
Fantastic. Thank you guys for volunteering that information. I tell you, those areas of influence, those are the places where you're going to find people because you've got a great relationship with some folks somewhere in there. And there are obvious ones like your friends, or the peers you work with. We talked about social media, professional networks. Are you on the board of a nonprofit? Or are you a member of the Chamber of Commerce? Like, all of these areas are great spots where you're going to recruit. But like I said, recruiting is never frozen. You're going to do it every single day. It could be at the grocery store. It could be the Uber Eats driver, wherever. I mean, if you are a prolific recruiter, you're looking for key talent every single day. And I want to talk about two of these areas that I think are really interesting and important to me. And those are internal committees, which we at Dell call employee resource groups, or ERGs. You probably have something like that, or of something like that. And then mentorships. Mentorships are so powerful, and I think they often get overlooked. Mentorship is not a friendship. Mentorship is a professional relationship between people. And there are a couple folks who are on this call, which is great, that are going to be featured here. But these are three quotes from three different people that I work with about both internal committees and mentorships. And so when you think about internal committee, one of ours is our Pride ERG. And within that Pride ERG, you've got this subgroup of people that is separate from your own employees. It includes your employees, but it's also separate from them because it also includes the LGBT Chamber of Commerce. It also includes the folks who attend Pride rallies. It also it includes the families of these people as well. Those become groups that you influence, not because you speak to them directly, but because your brand appears in the circles where those people live and work and socialize. And people start to have a positive affinity toward it. They see that you're supporting whatever it is, whether it's LGBT, whether it's interfaith, which could be more religious oriented, or maybe it's about family balance. And these are some of the internal committees that Dell offers. And then mentorships. There's two different quotes here, one from Dan and one from Tony about mentorships. Mentorships are incredible. I don't know how you guys create your own mentorships, but even at a company where you sort of have this insulated environment, this subset of an ecosystem of life, it becomes very difficult for us to find our own mentorships. And we created a global program to connect people. It's essentially Well, it's essentially a dating app for mentors. What do you want to do? What are you trying to learn? And how far away are you willing to meet somebody in time zone wise in order to learn that thing? And it connects people. And I would encourage all of you to reach out to your networks and ask for a mentor or ask to be a mentor. That relationship, that mentoring a person, not only creates the opportunity for that person to become engaged or to learn what it is you do, but you will build a brand for yourself around that person's network. They'll talk about who you are. They're going to say, oh, I met with this guy named Kevin. He's incredible. He's got this rock climbing product that he's working on. And I mean, he builds this business, and they're going to say all this about it. And then somebody's going to say, that sounds awesome. I would love to get to know this guy. What does he tell me more about what he does? And next thing you know, Kevin's recruited someone he's never even met. So that, you get it, but that's how it works. So focusing on those areas of influence are going to be your easiest places to recruit if you're not comfortable just asking the person at Kroger, what if they like their job and telling them they should come work for you. So I'd encourage you to try it. You'll get some pretty bonkers responses to that. The real question, though, is what happens when somebody goes, well, why should I work for you? And then you got to pitch yourself. You got to pitch your company. And this is where people like Taylor really shine. Taylor's going, oh God, no, please don't ask me to do a why Dell pitch. But Taylor, I'm just so glad there's so many Dell people that I know on the call that I don't have to do the why Dell pitch. I would love, are you comfortable giving me like a 20-second, hey, yeah, here's why you should come work for Dell pitch?
Can you hear me okay, Henry?
I can, and I'm so
What a
excited
way
to
to
hear
be
this
put on
pitch.
the
Taylor, why should I
Dell?
come work for Dell?
You need to come work for Dell because it's a great place that fosters growth for your career. And we have some really cool people that you can connect with in our employee resource groups.
There you go.
I think that was probably 10 seconds, but it's a pretty great place to work. I think everyone on this call that's working with Dell can attest to that.
Are you trying to recruit all of us to come work for Dell, Taylor?
Yes, please do. And join the Gen X DRT group.
There you go. So, super simple, easy pitch. Career growth, cool people. We have employee resource groups. There you go. Savannah, I know you're not on the camera right now, but I'm hoping that you're listening. I want to know, where do you work? What do you do? This is going to get real awkward if we have to sit here like this in silence. Okay, Tara, how about you?
Hi. Okay.
Hey, Tara.
I'm multitasking. I'm sorry. Hi.
That's all right. Where do you work? What do you do?
I have a juice cafe in Nashville, and I still do my nursing on the side and some other stuff.
Tara, you're busy. You're a very busy person. Okay, Tara, why should we come work at your juice cafe?
Because I wanted to. Let me think. Why should you come work with me? We have a welcoming environment. We not only put our customers first, we put our team members at the utmost, and I want everybody to be comfortable, and it's a fun environment, and you meet different people and new people. So it's just a good family feel to work at the Juice Cafe, and a fun job.
Oh, I love it. Guys, who wants to go work at the Juice Cafe? I'm in. All right, I'm in. Okay, Bill, I know I'm going to pull another Dell guy in on this, but I want to hear from you on your pitch. So come off of mute. Give me your why Dell pitch. 10 or 20 seconds. Bill, you're still on mute.
Bill, you got to press *6.
You might be
*6. Come off.
Muted. Nope, I can't hear you. It's too convenient for you. Okay, we'll come back to Bill in a second. Okay, anybody else brave enough to? Oh,
there we go.
Yeah, Bill, let's hear it.
Okay, the Dell is a great place to come and work. It has just the breadth of things that Dell offers, from education to the ERGs for growth potential, the benefits. They put people first. It's a company on the cutting edge that is just leading one of the leading organizations in the world. And I've been here 2.5 years, and it has been a real blessing to be part of this group. And it is built with people, and people are the core. And it's a place you can stay, grow, and spend your entire career at.
Bill, thank you very much for that. I want to go back for a second here. Tara, just as a recap, Tara did tell us that Juice Cafe was welcoming, customer first, team first, fun, and you get to meet a lot of people. And Bill told us that for him, Dell is a great place where there are a lot of opportunities for growth, including your own education. There are also benefits. He mentioned benefits, and that he's been there for 2.5 years and he loves it. Okay, so I don't want to go through this anymore other than to say, do all of these places sound like places you'd like to go work? I mean, does anybody have any problem with anything that they heard from any of these pitches? I have one problem with it. They all sound like the same place.
Thank you. Can I share?
Yes, Candace, I would love for you to.
Thank you so much. You know, I'm a creative first and always. And so, you know, I've worked in a ton of industries in 9 to 5, you know, great jobs. But as I'm organizing my own business, what I'm doing in terms of trying to interest people in growing with me is I'm offering a lot of creative latitude. I'm offering people to kind of create a certain spoke of the wheel. You know, we'll all put our heads together, but there's social change on the horizon. There's, you know, using cutting edge technologies. And those are the kinds of issues that I'm finding the people I'm eliciting interest from run with. Now, I didn't want to say anything before because I am, you know, a little bit, you know, more creative than I am regular or something, you know. But you know
Candace,
what I mean?
I love it. So what you told us about working with you is that there's a lot of creative latitude. There's a focus on social change, and you're using technologies in new ways.
Yeah.
Just to boil it down to 3 points. And
Great.
Candace, you might be surprised to hear that's the same thing for working with me.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm curious.
But there's one difference though.
What you're going to do with the responses you got, because I'm curious how you're going to tie this up.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I can't wait to see if I can tie this up. No, so the one thing you said though that was different, that I think was most important and key, is that you said, working with me, I want things to, I want to create an opportunity for people to have creative latitude. The key is that you said, I want to create that. And I think that what I want you guys, I know that what I want you guys to take from this is it's not about working for Dell or working for the Juice Cafe. This is about working for Tara, working with Tara. This is about working with Taylor, working with Bill, and working with Candace. The only thing that separates you guys is you guys. I could tell you everything that I've told you about working for Dell and just change the word to Apple, and it would still be true. Big company, global, lots of opportunities for growth, cool people, take care of our customers. It's all still true. The only difference is that I work here. And so you're not selling your company. Kevin is selling Kevin. Nikki is selling Nikki. That's the value. And it's really just about people connecting with people. So if you were to say, I want you to work with me because I make sure that the people that I work with are growing. I promote people so they can have successful careers. I don't write our benefits package, but I will make sure you know everything about it. I want you to have a great time. I'm going to be in charge of that for you when you come on board, and then you'll take it from there. So all I want you guys to take away from this is your company is your imagination. So you're selling you, not your company. Make sense? There you go.
Hey, Henry.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Scott. Hey, what about people that I try and find people that share your vision, that seem, you know, to really be passionate about the same things, or maybe even if your product or services resonate with somebody else's passions, that's a really key thing to look for as well. So I think that's a good selling point, is to let that person know, hey, it seems like you really share the passion that I have for X, and I would really love for you to come work with me. And, that sort of approach. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is going to get us into the conversation we're about to have next, Scott, because I both agree and completely disagree. It's a complicated double-edged sword, because if everybody shares your passion, then you've created this mob of people who are all like gung-ho to do the exact same thing, which sometimes in the startup, where you're trying to build all this head of steam, this energy, you really need it. But at some point, you're going to have to start getting people who have a different vision, a different passion, a different understanding, so that they can start to create some balance and dimension and depth. You got to be careful. Otherwise, you just have replicated yourself over and over and over again. So we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm glad you brought that up. But it is important, as long as it's just about that passion, it's important that you're bringing that in. So moving into what Scott said, you've now gone to your areas of influence. You've made this amazing why Jenny pitch. Everyone wants to come work with Jenny now because she's so amazing, and she's going to build them up and make them these great people. And you're going to go on to the next phase, which is interviewing. Okay. How many of you guys have been in the world's worst interview? Just terrible. Like yes. Yeah. How did I know that Candace was going to raise her hand? It's terrible. How many of you have led the world's worst interview? Like you just didn't know what you were doing, and you got done. You're like, I don't know if I even want to hire this person. I don't know. Maybe they're terrible. Maybe they're great. I don't know. You have to go into this intentionally. You have to understand what you're trying to accomplish, and you need to have a plan in place. So the best place to start is to know who you're trying to find. So Scott, to your point earlier, yes, I want to hire people who share my passion, but I'm looking for people who have these kinds of traits. Because in my past, I know that that for the job that I'm doing and the people that I'm looking for, if they are an HBCU graduate, they've got something that's interesting that will balance out what I don't have. I went to Western Kentucky University, a historically white university, not terribly interesting. I love somebody who's a chef. Why would I want somebody who's a chef? Chefs know how to work under a lot of pressure. They're comfortable leading. They manage a budget. They manage a team. They manage a timeline. They're organized. If they're a good chef, they'd be a great employee on my team. They may have never, I work in sales. The chef may have never sold anything in their life, but I can teach them how to sell. I can't teach them how to be good time managers. Trainers are incredible for me. Whether they're a trainer as in an educator or a trainer as in a physical trainer, either one of those, which could be completely different, are both great kinds of people to have on my team. They understand how to be patient. They know that things take time to develop. They have a system that they follow, and they're probably dedicated to the person that they're serving. That makes them a fantastic employee for my team. So these, when I'm looking at all those 250 interview or resumes that just came through gosh, Justin just sent me a note. Now I've lost my train of thought. 250 resumes that just came through on that job opening. These are the kinds of things that I'm looking for on that resume. I don't really care as much about sales skills, but I love it when somebody's got a real estate background. Okay, Justin says, what kind of skills should we look for that can't be taught?
Sense of urgency.
That's a great one. What else?
Grit, the ability to work on a problem when there's not a clear solution.
What's the difference between grit and resilience? Or is there a difference?
Resilience, you're able to bounce back quicker than grit's determination, but the ability to bounce and redirect your focus and move on.
Yeah. So grit and resilience, two slightly different traits, both can't be taught.
I think grit is a little edgier too.
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
I think a self-starter, somebody that's willing to jump in and not have to wait to be told, what to do and given 100% direction.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. That could be a pro and a con sometimes, depending on the environment that you're in. Sometimes you want people just to do what they're told because too much self-starting can create chaos. but you might have the kind of environment that you need people to know what's going on. You're moving fast.
I noticed you had coachable on the list, but the ability to want to be coached. Just because you're coachable doesn't mean you want to be or you want to learn.
That's a great one. That's a great one. Jenny, you had another one?
Yeah, I think a team player can be hard to be taught. Somebody that doesn't only think of themselves, but the people on their team and for the better success of the team as a whole.
That's fantastic. I mean, we could sit here probably for the rest of the day and come up with a lot of these skills that can't be taught. I think that the real key here, Justin, is what are the skills that you need for someone to be successful in your business, on your team, in your organization? And then you almost have to group those into what can I teach people and what can't I teach people? And then are the ones that you can't teach somebody, are they inherent? Are they just in someone's DNA? Or is it just that you don't know how to teach it? And then, can you figure that part out on your own? Because some of these, I mean, you could say that grit is something that you're either born with or not, or you could say that maybe the environment fosters a level of competence where someone says, I'll do whatever it takes because I'm so invested in my leader, my organization, or my cause. So it could be a little bit of both. I think it's a great question. So these are the skills that I'm looking for. And ultimately, I'm trying to create one really ideal outcome. And that's to build this diverse team. And that's kind of what Scott and I were going back and forth about just a moment ago. I want people to share the passion, but I want them to be different from me. If I've got a bunch of people who are just like me, then all we're going to do is just talk at the same time and think we know everything.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What if I know I have certain weaknesses and I thrive when I have certain other people on my team who, really complement that? Can you just tell me a good way to put that across?
When you say put that across, what do you mean?
Well, in an interview situation, this researcher person who, on a content level, I'd love for her to grow with me long term. And she just has skills that I just don't have, but we work great together because I have big ideas and then she substantiates them, blah, blah, and I put them across communicatively. I've just gone and I adore her and we get on great. I just said to her in one of our quasi recruit conversations that sort of happened tangentially right now. I just said, another thing is that you just compliment areas where I'm weak. I mean, my relationship with her is cool enough that I was able to just say it that, straightforward. But in other situations, like this accountant woman who I'm developing my content with her, I would have to articulate that kind of idea like very differently to her. Did you follow that?
I did follow it, but it sounds like you already understand what you're trying to do.
But with some people, I'm more comfortable on just like telling, acknowledging where I'm weak, if you will, and knowing where I'm strong, but with some people, I feel like the liability side of it, I just get creeped out.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. I mean, I sort of broader theme here is what I call the George W. Bush situation. Whether you like him or not, I mean, he was at least smart enough to know that he had to find a bunch of people who could do the things he didn't know how to do so that he could effectively do his job. Again, I don't want to get into a political conversation.
Use another name. I get you. I like the idea, but yeah, okay, cool.
But still, yeah. But smart leaders, if you're a good leader, and Michael Dell, our CEO, he's a great leader. He knows he is not a great public speaker. He goes and he hires, he builds a team of people around him who are very comfortable being public speakers because that's something an area where he has a gap. He knows he's great at technology, so he doesn't need to hire a bunch of people who are great at technology, except that he needs a bunch of people who are thinking differently about it. So Candace, I think if you're able as a leader to have a confident ego where you can say, I know what I don't know, and I'm going to go and find people who do know that. And then the rest of it is just about our ability to connect and communicate. Then you're in good shape.
Thank you.
But that's a great question. And that's a really smart way to think about running your business. You got to have all those dimensions filled. Okay, this slide's got a lot of stuff on it, the least of which is words. There's a lot of colors. But what I would encourage you to do is take a picture of it. Competency-based interview questions, or CBBI, or behavioral questions, whatever you want to call them, are fundamental interview questions for our company. They may be completely foreign for you guys, but they're almost all the same format. You can read the first line or two of each one of these. Tell me about a time when. Tell me about a time when is a question that is rooted in someone's past that helps give you an indication of what they're going to do in the future. Now, confident and storied salespeople especially know how to game these answers. I mean, they are incredible liars. They can make you believe that they've got a great story for all of this. So it is incumbent upon you as an interviewer to dig in on the question. This is where you shift from being an interviewer and go to being a private detective or an investigative journalist, and really understand the details of the answer. So the questions here there's 5 of these questions because they follow the 5 super elements that my sales group says we believe these are critical elements, must-have elements for anyone to work here. The previous slide were the behavioral traits that I'm looking for. And so, like, who is this person? And then this is, what kind of person is it? They have to have a good attitude, a strong work ethic. They have to have a high level of integrity. They've got to be a great communicator, and they need to be intelligent, or at least have a technical aptitude for the job. You'll have to determine what those 5 things are for you, and then go and write the questions down. You can just Google CBBI and get lists of hundreds of these questions. But these are the questions that we will ask in every single interview, some variation of these. If you want to hack the system, take a picture, come in and interview with us, and you'll be so bored out of your mind because you already know all the questions. The sweet spot here is the answer. So what we're looking for when we ask this question is we tell people, answer this way. Give me the example. So tell me about a time when you made a lasting positive impression on a customer. Give me the example, then tell me the action you took, then give me the result of that action, and tell me what you learned. So I'm looking for Earl. Example, action, resolution, and what'd you learn? If I get Earl in every single one of these answers, then that helps me frame the answer so I can dig in and really get honest, truthful, realistic outcomes. I don't need my mind blown. I just need to know who you are and what you've done, so I'll have an indication of what you'll do in the future. So they're gonna skip the action part. The answers are gonna go like this. Oh yeah, so I was working at the juice cafe, and this customer was really upset, but man, we took, they were okay. We managed to make it okay, and they came back and became a lifelong customer. They're so thrilled to tell you about the punchline. They're a lifelong customer. They forget to tell you what they did. So you say, that's amazing. So what did you do to make them a lifelong customer? That's the only part you really care about. The other part's the window dressing. You want to know, what did you do? Well, we did this. Yeah, okay, great. And what was your part in that? And how did you come up with that? What did you learn? How did you use that again later? You keep going and going and going until you realize that you've exhausted it. Now, it works with every one of these, but I added at the bottom these additional blue boxes. At work, we talk about Zoom fatigue. Do you guys talk about Zoom fatigue as well? Is that something you hear about? You can fill in any kind of fatigue you want. Maybe it's, I just off the top of my head, I don't really have any idea. It could be like working at home every day, surrounded by my teenage kids who are also at school every day, and my wife who's also home every day fatigue. I don't know, just randomly, just whatever. I just made that one up on the spot. It's not necessarily true for me. But it could just, whatever it is that's wearing you out, that's affecting your attitude. So you want to know this about these people. Do they have a great work ethic, and are they operating with a high level of integrity when you were not there to inspect it? Now, I don't know, maybe you're working face to face with people, and I hope you can be, but we aren't. And we haven't for a year, like many of you. So we have to reshape these questions in order to understand these things. Can they communicate in a virtual world? This is not the same phone call. This is something very different. And do they have the right tools? Do they understand how the tools work? I mean, in a call center, I wouldn't hire somebody who couldn't use a phone. And here I wouldn't hire somebody who didn't know how to use a video camera. I'm not talking to Savannah specifically, but I'm not talking to Savannah specifically. Okay, so it's important that they know how to use the tools. So hopefully you got a picture of this, or you've at least written down CVBI, or you've Googled all the answers. These are what we're looking for. And the last thing I'll say about the interviews is that we have this is like the bird seat at the bottom of the page, the legalese. We want to make sure that everyone gets 2 interviews on camera with 2 different interviewers. I want multiple perspectives. I don't want to be jaded. I don't want my best friend to tell me that his kid is going to be great for my company, and I'm like thinking he's going to be great. I want somebody else to give me their perspective. And the second part is, I don't want that person to know I have a relationship with this candidate. I don't want that other interviewer to know I didn't like the interview or that I loved the interview. I want them to know I had an interview. I want your perspective. And once they're all done, then we share. I don't want to poison the well with my thoughts, and I don't want to be poisoned with their thoughts. The last little bit here, depending on the kind of work you do, maybe they need a secure environment. Maybe they need reliable internet. Reliable internet is like a reliable car. If they can't get to work, whether it's online or in person, then probably not the right candidate. And then if you have some public tools that you use like Slack or Zoom, they should know how to use that kind of stuff. The last bullet point here is for you. How many of you have interviewed for a job in the virtual environment over a Zoom call? Not a phone, but a Zoom call. It's different. It's like living in Madison. It's just different up there. It's different. No offense to those of you who live in Madison. If you've been to Madison, you know it's just different in Madison. Okay, it's different interviewing on a Zoom call because you're in person, but not in person. You're on the phone, but you're not really on the phone. Should you wear a suit? Should you not wear a suit? I don't know. I mean, most of us are barely getting out of our pajamas these days. How do we do it? Be empathetic to this other person. Give them as much grace as you can. Tell them what you expect of them. Everything you could tell them that doesn't give away what you want to surprise them with in the interview, which it shouldn't be a trap. It should just be a conversation. For those that don't know, interview is a French word, French variation. It is just about a conversation. It's not about inquisition or anything like that. But anyway, lead with empathy. Okay, so you've talked with Justin's over there talking with all the other moms and dads at the Boy Scouts. He's found a great candidate. I guess Justin's hiring 12-year-olds. I don't know. So anyway, Justin's found a great candidate. He's done this incredible interview. He's bringing them in for his business. And now he's got to coach them up. And this is my favorite part, the coaching part. Something that we probably fall short on a little bit because we're patting ourselves on the back for this great interview that we've just done. We've hired all the right people, but now we actually have to coach them. So this is where I start. Who are we and what do we believe in? I'm going to bet that most of you guys have done this kind of exercise before, or you've already got this. How many of you guys have a vision and mission statement for your business or your team or yourself? How many of you have that? Taylor, yeah? Good. I hope you do. If you don't, if you don't, create it. Do it, because when it comes to coaching people, you want to know what it is you're leading them toward. What you're trying to improve them for what reason? I mean, to be better at this thing, but what is this thing doing? The mission and the vision like charge people up. This is what, I mean, really turns them on. Hopefully they've already looked you up and they found your mission and vision before you got started. So I'm pulling this from Teach from America. You know, now that I think about it, I don't know why I didn't pull our own company mission and vision, but anyway, that's fine. Teach for America. So I'm going to talk about mission and vision for those that don't know exactly what it is. One of my favorite things to Google, and I Google this probably once a quarter. What is the difference between mission and vision? You'd think that after I've done it once, I would remember it, but I just don't. The vision is where you see yourself out in the distant future one day. I mean, if that doesn't give you enough of a clue, one day, all children in the nation will have the opportunity to attain an excellent education. One day, out in the future, Teach for America's vision is out in the future. And then the mission is how they bridge the gap from today to one day. Well, we're going to recruit a bunch of these promising future leaders to go out and teach. And if we recruit enough of them, one day will be today. So now they know what it is they're trying to coach people to do. Now there's some KPIs and metrics and some, day-to-day goals that they're trying to accomplish inside of all this. But one day they get there by recruiting these people to do. So they're going to coach these guys on being better teachers, coach these guys on being better educators. And if you want a few more, there's a bunch more. I love mission and vision statements. I think they're so fascinating because they can be 2 words or they can be 2 paragraphs. Whatever it is, as long as it works for you, that's all that matters. One day, what are you going to do? And then what is your mission to get there? Justin, you kind of give me one of these, sort of, you've got it up there. Take a day. It'll take a day. Take a full day and come up with your mission and vision statement. And if you work with a team of people, throw them all in the room together and come up with it. Who do we want to be? And what is our mission to get there? Okay, so you've got your mission and vision statement. So now you got a coach, and now you're looking at your team of people, and they probably fall in this very predictable bell curve. And if you haven't seen a bell curve, kudos to you. Welcome to Earth. This is what a bell curve looks like. It's true. It's true of everything. It was almost true of all those questions that I asked of this very small population of people at the beginning, the poll questions. You've got your poor performers, your high performers, and in the middle, the vast majority are your average performers. But good news, you've written this amazing vision and mission statement and you've hired the right kind of people. So your average performers are better than everybody else's average performers. If you hired well, average is good. Average is where you want them to be. So you're really looking at averages slightly above or slightly below. Now, who do you coach? Kevin, who do you coach first?
I think the high performers.
Oh,
I need them to lead the rest.
Great answer. I did not expect that. Candace, who do you coach first?
I go with that, the high performers.
Candace, you're just copying off of Kevin's work now. Unbelievable. I'm counting on you to be different here. Okay, coaching the high performers. Who's coaching the low performers? What about these guys? They're the anchor dragging you down. Nobody? We're just going to cut them loose?
I think that you take your high performers, you coach them, and you get your team move in the right direction, right? With the leaders, with the people who can self-start, move in the right direction. And then you start helping the average and the low performers with that bigger team. So if you start with the low performers, the high performers are listless, right? They have no vision. They don't know where you're going. So you start with the top and then you work your way down. And then you try to get everybody doing something productive. And then those who can't, you have to let go. You have to be, there has to be some point at which you agree to part ways. But that comes later.
Yeah. I agree with you, Kevin and Candace. You got to coach your high performers. The truth is you got to coach them all. That's the real answer. You got to coach them all. You're going to have to start somewhere. You're going to have to pick what's right for you. But let's start with the low performers for a second. On the low performer side, luckily, there's only a few of them. If you hired well and your bell curve is accurate, there's only a few, and odds are it's going to come down to either skill or will. Jenny, how many times have you heard skill and will in your professional life?
Hundreds.
Skill, yeah, a zillion times. Skill or will. If they don't have the will, then you're never going to coach them up enough to make them a great employee. So you're going to have to let them go. They haven't bought into your vision and you hired poorly. That's on you. It happens. If they don't have the skill, then you can coach them until you determine whether or not they meet that threshold for intelligence or technical aptitude. Maybe you didn't hire well. Maybe they oversold themselves. Maybe they just need additional training. But those are pretty easy. I grew up on a farm. It didn't take long to realize that you shouldn't try to spend all your energy planting seeds in the rocky, sandy soil. Nothing was going to grow there unless you were growing cactuses. So you kind of left that part alone. And that's a small part if you've got a good piece of property. Now, your middle performers are critical because there's so many of them. There's so many of these middle performers. And inevitably, those people on the top end, they're going to leave. They're going to promote up. They're going to go and start their own business. Something's going to happen with them where there's going to be a vacancy at the top. And you want those people in the middle to immediately step in. So you're coaching those middle performers to move them up. But I'm loving that Kevin and Candace said coach the high performers, because a lot of people will say, luckily we've got our high performers, so they're in good shape. But they do become listless. They do wander. They do want that same love and affection that everybody else wants. And man, they will get very sore if they see the low performers getting all the attention, and they will sometimes become a low performer just because they want attention. You got to be careful. But coaching a high performer can be challenging for a lot of reasons. And we mentioned before, some people don't like to be coached. And high performers who don't like to be coached are as bad as low performers who don't know how to do the job. Those people are loose cannons. They could sink your business, and they should be let go just as quick as a low performer could. So I just watch out for that kind of stuff. People have to be bought into your vision. They've got to want to be coached. But coaching high performers can be difficult. Who is this guy? Anybody know? Any guesses? This is Tony Dews. Anybody know Tony Dews? He's Derrick Henry's running coach. Derrick Henry has a coach. And when I think about coaching high performers, I think about Derrick Henry, or I think about, I mean, I'm not a sports guy, so I'm really venturing into, I'm out of my depth on this. Derrick Henry or LeBron James or Michael Jordan, those are all my references for sports. Okay. But these guys, I mean, I'm not a sports guy and I know who they are. They're incredible. You know, they have shoes named after them and stuff. That's cool. They still had coaches. Let me tell you a story. My neighbor, he lives right there. My neighbor was the starting quarterback for the Nashville Arena League football team. I didn't even know he had an Arena League football team, but we do. He's the starting quarterback for the Arena League football team. He puts the team on his back and he wins games. He's incredible. And the coach called him the other day and said, "Where are you? It's practice." And he said, "Coach, I don't need to practice. I win the games. I'm good." He goes, "Oh, okay. Well, you're fired." And now my neighbor, who lives right over there, he does the security checks on the food carts that go on airplanes to make sure there's no guns and bombs in them. Really important job, and I'm glad he's doing it, because somebody better be doing that. But he's not the quarterback for the Arena League football team anymore, because he didn't think he needed to be coached, because he wins. He's a great guy. And if he knew I was telling this story, he'd probably hit me in the mouth. But the point is, you got to be coached. So if Tony Dews is going to coach Derrick Henry, who I believe breaks records, Nikki, Derrick Henry breaks records, right? He does.
Yes, all day long. Sorry.
Yes. Breaks them in half over his giant legs. So if Tony Dews coaches a guy who breaks records, your top performers are going to get coached too, every single day until they are flawless. And they are never flawless. We are never flawless. Okay, so how do we coach? We coach at the atomic level. Hold on, not that atomic, this atomic. We coach at this atomic level. What this means is we have to start really small. You can't take, we can't take that 12-year-old that Justin hired and turn them into an incredible performer overnight. You start small, little by little. You work on these little tweaks and minor adjustments and make little 1% improvements day over day. And it has to be day over day. Every single day you have to work on coaching. It isn't something that you just schedule on your calendar and check in on it once a month. Every single day, a little minor tweaks, adjustments, growing it more and more and more. And ultimately, it's the system that's better than the goal. And I mentioned this before. The goal is fantastic, but without a system in place, you're just a guy running around all the time going, let's sell more, let's do more, let's be better. And they're going, how? Coach me and I will. James Clear wrote Atomic Habits. That's where these come from. There's 10 or 20 more of these points. It's a great book. It's an easier video to watch, depending on what you're into. Look up James Clear and Atomic Habits, and you'll learn more about this. But this notion of starting small and doing 1% is fascinating. It's fascinating. This is how it works. You do 1% more every day, and over the course of the year, you're 37 times better. And that's just math, guys. I didn't make that up. That's math. That's how it works. It's compound interest for those of you who are into that sort of thing. I'm not, which is why there's a graph here to remind me that compound interest goes up. Okay, If you do 1% more every day, then you will be 37 times better by the end of the year. If you do 1% less every day, you will be at 0 by the end of every year. There is no plateau. There is no flat, and you do not tread water. You are literally flying or you're drowning. It's always one or the other. You're either moving up or you're going down. If anyone ever tells you I'm just on a plateau, they are actually going down. That's what's actually happening to them. The same goes for you. You have to coach better every day. You have to coach 1% better, learn 1% more. You have to be an expert in your field. You don't become an expert overnight. You just learn a little bit more every day. And if you're doing all of this for yourself and doing all of this for the people you serve, recognizing your own gaps, like Candace mentioned earlier, and surrounding yourself with really smart people, then you become really successful and you've built an amazing team. Okay. Whew, man. Has it already been an hour? Well,
Yes.
yes, yes, it has.
Great
Okay.
stuff.
Recruiting is active in your area of influence all the time, proactive, asking for people, know those areas of influence. It's a why you pitch, make it personal, own it. If you're not going to take care of this person that you're hiring, then maybe you shouldn't be hiring them. Your team benefits from diversity, so they got to have that passion Scott talked about, but they need to be a lot of different kinds of people because that's what makes that's what makes life great. Variety, right? CBBI interview questions. Make sure you have a partner, co-pilot for a second opinion on all of your interviews because you can't be trusted. You know, create that vision and that mission. Justin promised me you'll get that done. And then 1% improvement every day is 37 times greater at the end of the year. All right, I'm going to leave it open for 2 minutes of questions.
So I got to ask.
Yes.
So you called me out on the mission, vision, and values. So I've gone through that whole exercise before, and I found that I came out with the same crap that I see everybody else have, which is like integrity and trust and hardworking and like all the examples, all the tutorials I've seen, like they're so freaking generic. Do you have any examples on how to do that differently?
So we did this with our team, and we actually spent a full day where we read mission and vision statements one at a time. We read core values. We talked about what we liked or didn't like about what we were reading, just so we could get a framework for how we wanted to create ours. And then we sat down and talked about, what do we believe in? What do we care about? And it's committee work. So it kind of boiled down to like the lowest common denominator in some cases. But we talked about, who do we really want to be as an organization? And then how are we actually going to go about getting there? What are we actually going to do? Not this bullshit fluff. What do we think we're going to do? What are we actually going to do? So for me, my vision is to build and lead excellent teams. Real simple, build and lead excellent teams. And I do that by hiring people who are curious, fearless, and focused. And those are my 3 core values: curious, fearless, and focused. And that's it.
So I don't want to take all your time, but it sounded like it was more of a conversation with a committee. And I mean, I'm a one-man band with basically a couple subcontractors that I probably wouldn't have that conversation with. Do you have tips on how to have that conversation internally?
Well, if you are it depends on the person you are. I'm a talk it out kind of person. I learn by having a chance to talk through it with people. If you're like that, this is where that mentor relationship could be critical, or people you trust in your life. If you like to sit on it and kind of work it out in your own head, then you're just going to need to do some free writing. Really just put ideas down on paper. See what other people are saying and what resonates with you. But, I also like to walk and I bring my notebook with me and I'll write things down as I'm walking, which is dangerous. Don't do that in public areas, do it in parks. But, however it is that you go and process your thoughts, at the end of the day, Justin, it's really just, what do you actually believe in? It doesn't have to be, you're not going to chisel this on stone, man. I mean, you can change it as many times as you want if you need to, but if you can't get behind it, then you're right. It is just fluff. I would be happy to work with you on it if you ever want to sit down and just talk through it.
Yeah, I'll take you up on that.
Consider it done.
I'll connect to you. I think Tara has a question next.
Tara.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. This goes back to something you were saying earlier. Mentorship is not friendship, which that is key. My question is, how do you sell yourself to get a mentor? Like, who is your mentor, and how did you sell yourself so that he would mentor you? Does that make he or she would mentor you? Does that make sense? What I asked?
It does make sense. Yeah. It was a little bit easier for me because I went to somebody who is in our company. Both of my mentors are women, but there's a woman named Madeline Brown. She's a leader of our sales excellence group. And I said, hey, Madeline, I need somebody that I can talk to about my career. You've had an interesting career. Can we meet once every couple of months and just let me talk about my concerns and you give me your feedback? She said, I'd love to. My other mentor, you guys may know Van Tucker. Some of you know Van Tucker. Van was a customer, a client of mine back in the day. And Van and I have a lot in common. And I said, Van, I just want to keep meeting with you because I think you're interesting and I've got a lot of questions and you've got a lot of experience. Can we just keep talking? And she said, yeah. So we get coffee, get a drink, get a Zoom call. You know, I mean, I just left it wide open and just said, can we be friends and be mentors? You know, whatever. You just say it's real simple. That's how I approached it, Tara.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
For me, I'm sort of building the plane and flying it at the same time. And funding is, you know, a component of stalled hirings, and putting my financial projections together and such to attract, you know, angel investors is one direction I'm going. Do you have any remarks about the intersection between funding and starting the recruiting process?
You know, Candace, that's a little bit outside of my area of
Okay.
expertise because of
Yeah.
where I work. But I did mention Van
Sure.
Tucker a moment ago, and Van is the CEO of Launch Tennessee. Now, Launch Tennessee is a bit more on the tech side, so I'm not 100% sure what it is you're doing. But that group could be a great resource to help you understand, you know, that intersection that you're looking for.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed today. It was really great. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great to meet you, Candace. Any other questions? I know we're over on time, but I'm free if you want to ask me more questions. All right. Justin, I'm going to put my email in the chat and you are more than welcome to reach out. Any of you are at any point in time, if you have any questions. Here we go. It's going to be a tough one for you all to remember. There you go. That's my work email. Reach me anytime if anyone has any questions, any follow-up, anything you want to know.
I appreciate everyone for joining today. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk with all of you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.